You know, I'll be honest, a lot of the time after I get off work, I play League of Legends. I spend the majority of my time consuming content, which I don't think League of Legends really counts, but I do read, and I do watch anime, whatever you want. Point is, you probably do the same thing too. You could be running around looking for some new cool book to read, or spend the majority of your time playing League of Legends or Team Fortress 2 or whatever heavy co-op autism game you like. But, you know, call it enjoying or partaking in the arts. I think at a certain level, it stops being mere enjoyment. A lot of people use media cataloging sites like Rate Your Music and Backlog for no better reason than to indulge in having a tangible list to corroborate a big-ass number you can show off to other people. I, too, have never felt the touch of a woman. I've tried to convince other people to use them, and they just ask, why? And to that, I don't really have a good answer. You could always come up with a silly reason, like it's to further my knowledge, like it's some weird, righteous, gracious thing to give, I don't fucking know, Yuri like a 3 out of 10 because it doesn't have very good musical score, which by the way is a fucking lie, I love the opening. Or you can just be honest and say you want more company on a website you like to use. Media cataloging websites like this are really just a little space to call your own. Evident in accounts that work up some reviewing quirk, or people who work really hard on making their account pop and have a bunch of achievements listed. Random quotes, flowery text, random quotes again, and pictures of their favorite anime, and seems to me a bit overzealous about being yourself. But in the present day, in present time, that's just how it is. The act of me speaking right here and right now is pretty much the same goddamn thing. Removed from the list themselves, I doubt you find something you'd really enjoy, scouring the faceless charts of seasonal anime. Digging around for gold to find yet another 7 out of 10 average rated anime with fine enough qualities to rate it in the same vein. Algorithms don't tend to feed you content you might like, but push content that's sensational and immediately eye-catching. Say, for instance, you go on Netflix and look through the genre catalog. You'll probably scroll forever without finding anything, and I think that's intentional. These websites aim to bring back that element of surprise, or at least a human creation back into finding cool things. Like reading the review sections of a magazine telling you about what's coming out. Although, I think the user bases on these websites are kind of lame. I hate the cool secret Discord servers. I hate the loud and obnoxious stan culture. But in a less sensible way, I fucking hate seeing kids on social media platforms. Go to school, why are you here? But, you know, the biggest thing with that, why is your age in the bio in the first place? Like, I thought you're supposed to be hiding that shit. I mean, I hid it my whole time, so I think that these websites are the best alternative for recommendations in an increasingly virtual world. Though, it's never truly black and white. A lot of people prefer to write reviews because the nature of these websites. Reviewing in general, I think, is a tired form of analysis, at least in a more independent style. Larger organizations can afford to review in an objective sense because of the established criteria that come with visiting their websites. Personal ones have a similar avenue of thought but flow down into a different condition. Reviews on these websites range from readable to literally nothing. They follow a very distinct kind of prose, meant for a relatively clinical dissection of the few elements that make a film good, and then apply a number to measure its quality. Maybe it's just me, but I prefer a simple star rating to get the point across. And I've had my fair share of reviews, and I won't say I was necessarily a fan of writing them, nor was I a fan of the finished products. I have a few on my website, and I won't say I'm a fan of them. I think they're easily the worst works I've ever done. What I want, really, is to write about things in a less hierarchical and static position. Analysis that borders on everything except attaching a number to a product. I turn to writing my own personal essays to extract exactly that. Usually after I finish something, I fire up my notepad and write about my experiences, thoughts, notes of interest, or occasionally, if I'm feeling more creatively bankrupt than usual, I write a synopsis. I finished watching Studio Apartment Good Lighting Angel Included. The show was released all the way back in April of this year, but I've only found myself watching it recently. It was talking about yaoi. This show was inconsequential, a pointless series with an equally irrelevant studio, an anime that changed nothing. It concerns itself with our everyday man, Shintaro, and his preordained accordance with our angel, Toa. She falls into the back porch of his small studio apartment and immediately needs the help of our main character. Later on in the series, he comes across a few other girls, who, to his surprise, are also fantasy race creature things. There's a Kappa, a Yuki Onna, an Onosano Nanji, and a vampire. All of them have a strange connection to him, which isn't always romantic, but each character really likes him. He even makes the other men blush. At a very basic level, I think the author may have an appreciation for shy characters. I don't know how to express that more than, yeah, whatever. Everyone, to include the main lead, are in some way representative of the shy dere archetype, which is a condition that the otaku have dealt with for years, but I'm not going to get into that. You should know. Keep in mind that this is written by someone who's probably also an otaku. The lead himself is a timid and kind person, Towa is clueless, Noaru is just a lone wolf, and Tsumugi is just the Osana Namji character. Lilishka follows a slightly different aspect of adoration, but you can just guess what she's about by looking at her. Even the designs of the characters adhere to a very minimalist standard. Glance at the characters and they won't stand out. The congruence they share is that it's very unsaturated, opting for brighter and lighter colors in their outfits and palettes. But I think this is mainly due to the directors that worked on the show. They just wanted the entire show to be kind of pastel looking, which of course is no fault of their own. I think the characters stand out precisely because of their simplicity, but you'd be hard pressed to name a certain characteristic, personality-wise or design language-wise, that'd make them more than just heroines that eventually sink in a pool of unsold acrylic stands in the Ami Ami Cell tab. What's the point? Well, it's an anime about having a group of female friends that are also mythical creatures. And frankly speaking, I think that concept stands for itself. There isn't a hidden trove of ideology or even a quote of interest. If you're looking for something even relatively interesting, there isn't a lot here. What do you really expect? This isn't some Cormac McCarthy book, this is light novel adaptation. But at the end of the day, you and I are the ones sitting in front of a screen feeling some kind of way watching fictional high schoolers quarrel over bento boxes. Honestly, I find it hard to say anything at all. Why bother? Just as I was gonna figure out an arbitrary number to attach to my experience, I scrolled down to the My Anime List entry. One such review gave the show a 1 out of 10. He referred to the anime as one of the most boring and unengaging anime in recent years, gave a similarly sarcastic synopsis, and gave a strange comment about Shakespeare. He spoke about how its lack of plot differed from actual good examples of slice of life anime, which is a dubious claim at best, but left the review with, all in all, One Room's plot is practically non-existent. Its characters have no depth, and there is no tension. A total car crash of a story. And it's not a car crash that you can't move your eyes away from. It's the anime equivalent of a car bumping into a fence at 10 kilometers an hour. A 1 for One Room. And I mean, I don't think he's really wrong. Originally, the script was supposed to be a write-up of various thoughts I had on the anime, and this wasn't ever going to see the light of day, but I found even in a completely directionless text file, it was really hard to say anything. How could it be anything more than it is? Considering the anime industry and how hard it is to pitch experimental ideas to the masses, who could blame the hands that wrote the script, the animators keyframing shots, and the voice actors that gave life to these characters? It may not be very funny, it may not be that cute, but within the context of being entertainment, at least that leaves a warm feeling in my heart. In an article from Washington Post titled, "Why Do We Watch Trashy TV?" the Post makes a distinction between two separate kinds of media enjoyers, the one who just watches it, and the other, more cultured person. But one such comment mentions how trashy TV, in vein of modern reality shows, is akin to a crashing car. You recluse into your seat and soak in the mind-numbingly brain-dead entertainment. Millions of people tune into the lives of the Kardashians every day. A simple glance in the direction of the bygone Blu-ray sets at Target are enough to express this. Moving away from Target's hygienic aisles of media and into the half-price DVDs from a bygone era, well, you'll see some real trash. I don't know, fucking Leprechauns 1, 2, 3, 4, and Back to the Hood, whatever they have, you know what I'm talking about. But campiness is a celebration of our failures. Not all media is meant to be art, however you may quantify that. No one wants to come home from a long day of work and sit down with something that challenges them to think. When I'm having my morning breakfast, I don't crack open The World as Will and Representation. I'd really rather just watch 3 seasons of Family Guy back to back.
Dude, this car kicks ass, and I can watch Madagascar while I'm driving.
What kind of music do you like, Gloria?
Hippo hop. Woohoo! Yeah, baby.
Dude, those animals are so fucking funny, they make me want to merge without looking!
Though I don't think I'd be eating that long. Even Mr. Hibi retreated to the cinemas after long days of unchecked stability. He wished to be totally absorbed in the film no matter how trivial or artificial it was, in order to free his mind temporarily from the philosophical thoughts that tortured and exhausted him. He went to the cinema almost every evening, but could not remember anything about the films when asked about them the following day. He just went to relax, eat a cheap meal, buy tickets from the front seat, sit and be immersed by pictures. Which is why I don't think these questions are asked too often. Well, except for viewers who are a little bit too into this kind of relaxing content. Anime fans on Twitter, or so have you, are swinging their fists in the air at yet another loser-pandering romance anime without any substance. Entertainment relies on its ability to produce fun. Fun to entertainment is what beauty is to art. It's a way to express or quantify its quality. What if it isn't fun? Well, then it fails in its art. What exactly is analysis for? Why do we care? What cultural value does some random moe anime have? Is there some hidden truth to uncover? It's a form of expression. Everything has a meaning, but that's only if we want them to. Everything could always be as simple as accepting the reality in which we are presented with, but it's all worth interpreting. Not only for aesthetic purposes, but for yourself. A 2.5-hour video about how Persona 5 loses some of its utilitarian genre conventions in favor of looking cool says a lot more about the person making it than it does about the topic itself. Certain apprehensions come forth and flow out through the frames of the image and flow out into a world in a strict sense. I have my morning breakfast near a window every day, and in some sort of unconscious way, I feel like I examine whatever is outside that window. I'm blessed with another sunny day. The seagulls are mocking me. Today feels fresh. Tradition and all of its contemporaries are a guise for the terrifying accumulation of experience. It could be whatever, but I'll say it's usually fucking foggy, like really foggy all the time. So sometimes I'll try to find something, I'm like, it's just foggy. And you know, that could be representative of something itself too, you know, it just depends. It certainly wouldn't be a hasty conclusion that media may be a daily ritual in your life. Taking a step back and reeling in the enjoyment just a tad bit could prove valuable. Who knows? Maybe critical thinking could lead to something more interesting. Keep in mind the fingers on the keyboard. Keep in mind the person those fingers are attached to. Refrain from abstracting yourself from your own experience in an impersonal, objective attempt at leveling. Remember who you are and why you do what you do. For me, I just think it's really fun. In fiction or media in general, there's a movement towards reinventing stuff that's already previously established. Be it through negative reframing of their keepsake like Loser Ranger or the additive words placed in isekai titles. Or, in equal remembrance, bring up concepts that haven't seen the light of days in years. Even anime by notable studios like My Dear Friend Nokutan are clearly remembering something like Nichijou. In fact, I'd even argue that the entire premise is based on a single gag in the anime. I hold myself to the position that there isn't a lot of interesting things left to make. All we have now is optimizing the strategies to get where we want to be and trying to create stories that earn enough money to keep the industry running, which is likely one of the more tangible reasons why nothing's particularly interesting anymore. In media, almost everything in the entire world is simply an extension of previous ideas. It's not to say that nothing escapes this condition or that this condition is negative in the first place. Some of my favorite anime in recent years are part of the malaise of high school romance comedies. This anime or that anime are not shows that could stand on their own, nor do I think that they can stand. They are built on the bedrock in which a house is built upon. They are the roots that flow everlong into the soil and gather up its resources. They are the blank spaces on a canvas. They are the anime figurines being sold for 60% off on AmiAmi. One concept that I believe that anime culture and at large otaku culture operate is with this concept of creating a personal rendition of what life should be. Consider the entirety of Akihabara as a personal space rendered within the walls of a mile-long district. The walls plastered in coverage transfer on the billboards as an advertisement for the product, or as a leitmotif for the city itself. A picturesque scene, denpa music playing over its backdrop. Akihabara is bringing culture and personal identity out into a physical and real space that isn't trapped between your own four walls. I want to get back to the good life. Remove the tangible from itself and delegate its meaning back to where it came from, a new form, believed not to be the same as it was. The pictures are no longer seen with the artist in mind, nor is it seen with the narratives it predisposed. Watching Studio Apartment, good lighting, Angel included, isn't you watching something of content. It is the equivalent of breaking into the spaces under large shopping districts and malls and seeing locked doors and the occasional middle-aged employee. It makes up the very culture. Everything that falls in between is to reinforce what we could never aim to lose. How could you ever bear to forget about your favorite character?